Abani Ghani, everyone. This is Professor Rahh, Professor Emeritus, California State University, Long Beach, African Studies Department. Uh, Long time professor there for 34 years. Also wanted to say that my co-host will be joining us later, Brother Joe Hembrick, a long-time educator for Compton Unified and Linwood Unified as an administrator and teacher, and the first black head coach for Linwood Unified School District. And we want to welcome you here to the Conscious Corner, where we got various. First, we want to welcome everyone that chime in, and we deeply appreciate them chiming in. And we want to say that welcome, you found your family in a peaceful place, a place where we discuss critical issues that affect African people all over the world from a Pan-African standpoint, and specific issues that we face here in the hills of North America. The challenges that our focus on the good deeds of our people toward each other and toward humanity, and with a focus on our struggle to change the world into a peaceful place and a righteous place for all of us. So without further ado, I want to introduce our guest tonight, and that is Brother Ronnie Roberts, longtime educator for Long Beach and a longtime educator and a critical thinker of black issues, who's been on our show a couple of times, but at the same time, he's going to discuss a very controversial issue among all people in America, and that is immigration. And there's a difference between migration and immigration. Migration are people that come to work and go back home. Immigration is people who come to stay. Various countries have different policies and different ways in which how they handle immigration. And but at the same time, as the scriptures say, the meek will inherit the earth, and them that are last will be first, and them that are first will be last. So without further ado, I want to welcome Brother Ronnie, along with the platform host, Rashaki Maskani, one of the most beautiful spirits that anybody could ever think of with regards to his love for his people and spending his resources and time to provide this platform to see and show Community Education Network for to speak truth to the people and educate the people. As he always say, each one teach one. And I'm sure we're going to get a good teaching from Brother Rodney Roberts. Just go ahead, brother.
Okay, Professor Rahh, we want to also acknowledge Toya Brown,
Okay.
one of our colleagues from Long Beach that Ronnie and I used to work with. Welcome,
All
Toya.
right.
Glad you're here.
Thank you.
Okay. Ronnie, take off.
Um, Good evening, folks. Glad to see all my good people again. Um, Immigration is a hot topic in the United States of America. Probably it's one of those social issues that just almost overwhelms our society that we have no definitive answers to. Uh, we have social problems that are just so huge um, that the political situation, the where we are as a country right now, economics, race issues, um, us society wanted to turn back the clock 50 years ago when minorities and people of color or people who weren't white Americans weren't considered full true Americans or were oppressed through legal means and are still being oppressed through legal means. Why is immigration such a hot topic today? Because we have people, because of our borders. We border Mexico on the California side, we border Mexico on the Texas side of the country. So two extreme sides of the country, and even New York for that matter. and even Canada for that matter. Now, our Canadian immigrants or immigrants, we can break the immigrant problem down into probably racial groups. We've pretty much in America always pretty much welcomed European-based or white immigrants and have had laws against brown and black peoples or immigrants from brown and black countries. It's obviously a bigger issue here for South American countries. We don't have a, per se, Mexico is not the crux of our immigration problem. I don't even think Mexicans are, for that matter, even though the Mexican peoples have obviously overtaken blacks to be the second biggest minority in this country, maybe 10 years ago or so. But for the most part, immigrants, they come to this country for several reasons. Number one is economics. Number two, crop failures where they're from. Religious and political persecution and oppression. And just to bottom line, to make a better life for the kids. You think of the average person or the average immigrant that's in the news, at least, the ones that are most in the news are the Hispanic speaking people because they're closest and because we have the crisis at the border in Texas, particularly a red state that is in essence trying to solve some problem by demonizing these people and even going so far as to have buses bringing immigrant peoples into so-called blue states, the blue states being democratically and minority populations having power, and the red states, which are the MAGA people and the Republican-leaning people who want to keep these people out. Why do they want to keep these people out of our country? It's basically race. It's basically a racial issue. It gets back to that age-old stain on American society and this country, the United States of America, which I still believe and I'll always believe is the greatest country in the world. But we have some issues as far as race, as far as power, as far as economics is concerned. That will always be there, and pretty much it doesn't exonerate us from them. But every other country in the world is race conscious too, even African countries. Race conscious is power, and it's about economics. Why do we allow immigration at all? Where before the 1920s, America, let's don't get it twisted, is a country of immigrants. The only people who were here, who rightfully own this land, or who were rightful rulers, were indigenous people or Native Americans or Indians. They're probably true North Americans, if there are any. Well, when the white man came here, and they were all immigrants, and most of them poor, they came here voluntarily to get away from religious persecution mainly, and to seek greater economics. There were a lot of people who they released from in jail, just like they did in the great Cuban migration in Florida. They released a lot of convicts here. Well, a lot of the people that came over on the Mayflower and those different ships had religious issues, had political issues, and were generally poor. Do rich people immigrate to the United States, or well-off people? Yes, they do. And there's a certain percentage of these people that are recruited, literally. And some of them are people of color, but almost all of the ones that really are desired immigrants, so to speak, are those who are highly educated, bring a skill set that America is short of, such as doctors, and of course, the burgeoning technological field is bringing in people every year to expand on our computer technology issues and to just, in other words, we're importing what we consider to be brain power rather than the black and brown peoples who, for the most large part, bring in brawn power versus brain power, or labor skills versus critical thinking or educational skills that require some type of education. So, why can't we solve the immigration problem? Immigration is simply a person coming here for economic, political reasons, and just oppressive regimes. What are some of the cons? Why do the MAGA crowd, why do Republicans resist immigration, and why do Democrats or blue states, why are they for it? Well, we don't make it in this country without immigrants. We're immigrants. Everybody should be immigrant. Came here involuntarily, though. We didn't ask to be brought to America. And we came here and worked for free for 400 years, but that's a whole nother story. But that has something to do with the immigration issue that's going on right now. They've just focused on, they're not, when the people were coming from Haiti, oh my God, it was awful, the reaction. And you didn't even get a big reaction from a lot of Democrats when the Haitian people were coming. So we were kind of all united because here's a black, poor country whose people were coming here, and in essence, as was heard from some of the MAGA crowd, we're dirtying up our country and dirtying up our city. Well, we all know that we can't function in America without immigration. We can't function without a steady flow of younger people, simply because America is getting to be very great. There's lots of folks in our age category, Ms. Brown and Brother Rahh, that we're senior citizens now. We're voting. We pay taxes. We've had careers and jobs, and we go to the polls. So it's important to all of us to figure out this immigration issue. And to me, the real key for immigration is compassion. We showing compassion to fellow men or women for that purpose, who are less fortunate than us economically, who are less fortunate than us politically. And you wonder about the political climate with what's going on with our ex-commander-in-chief, I won't call him president, and his MAGA folks. And then we have the Democratic Party and the so-called liberals or whatever. And, I called out the liberals as well for not doing enough on immigration. I mean, there has to be a solution that involves compassion, that involves welcoming in people who want to contribute in some kind of way, being able to effectively weed out the ones who are coming here to just be disruptive. Now, how do you make that determination, and who makes that determination? That's all politics, bottom line, however you want to do it. But politics is us, the voters, the people who put these people in office to make these decisions. Well, our system is flawed because we really have a minority party that's been ruling for the past, other than Barack's two terms, the 20s have been dominated by a minority party, which is the Republican Party. Democrats in this country outnumber Republicans from a voting standpoint almost 2-1. And yet we consistently allow folks who are really a minority to run the country because of two flawed institutions that we have, which, number one, the biggest is the United States Senate, which requires 2 senators for every state, no matter the size of the state. So North Dakota and South Dakota have 4 senators, and California has 2. We have more people in LA than those 2 states combined, just LA. I'm not talking about the rest of California. So the Senate is weighted toward a rural constituency, and the Republican Party is dominating the Senate and has dominated the Senate for some time now, simply because, number one, they vote. They actually vote. just say, it's often been said that if only 5% more blacks and 5% more brown people had voted in the election for Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, that Trump would have never existed. We all know that our young people are not voting in the percentages that they should. They've turned off the system. They're so disappointed with both Republicans and Democrats, or blue state and red state politics, that they don't want to have any part of it. But some sort of way, we as elders and as those who are gurus, or our community, or folks who spread knowledge, we have to convince our young people to get more involved politically. We also have to have as many of us doing our part from a political standpoint, and that's just going to the polls and voting. Because these, a lot of young people, and I've heard it from people our age even, and particularly for people in the 30s and 40s, it doesn't make a difference who you vote for. It does make a difference. And that's the key to all of our issues here. Just getting out to vote, voting for people of conscience, voting for people of compassion. And these are the two key tenets and facets of immigration. We need a compassionate, thorough policy. Why do people come to this country? Because it's the greatest country in the world, and the most flawed at the same time. We can't function without immigrants. We're all immigrants to a degree. So, let's try to come up with a compassionate solution. I noticed that some of the red cities, some of the red states are busing people in California and New York, and they're crying about it. It's not such a big issue with California because we're a border state, and we have our own issues as far as illegal immigration is concerned. It's kind of tough when there are 90,000 immigrants have been recently arrived in the shores of New York, and a significant portion of people are sleeping on cardboard boxes in the streets, and they have no place for them. We as New York is just as liberal as California, or one of the most liberal states in the union, and consider themselves to be open-minded about immigration, at least the ruling politicians. But they cry the most when a busload of them comes to New York. What are we going to do with these people? Well, you can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. Can we stop immigration? Can we really build a wall and close our borders? No, we can't. Okay, we got all of this land in the United States that's contiguous with South American countries, Mexico being the biggest. We can't stop it. The problem with immigration right now is not a Mexican problem. It's not about Mexicans. It's Central America. Central America, almost exclusive. 90% of our immigration issues are coming from Central American countries. Mexico is highlighted, number one, because California is
right there.
always thought of as the immigration state because 50% of the population is going to be Hispanic, if it's not already. But it's a problem for all of us. We need these people because our workforce is growing older and grayer. Do we need them all? No. Can we take in just innumerable number of people? No, we can't. Because first of all, when they get here, even though they are illegal aliens, as they call them, or immigrants, they have rights. They have the right to freedom of speech. They have the right to be not oppressed. They have certain rights, unalienable rights. Once you get into the United States, there are a certain amount of rights that everybody has, legal and illegal immigrants, and that's what the red states or the Republicans don't really like. They don't want that to happen. We don't have an immigration policy, even for smart people. We just allow them to come in, give them a green card. Green card lasts for 5 years. After 5 years, you got to go, or you got to apply for citizenship. There's just no legal way to immigrate to the United States. I think they have 9,000 slots a year open, something like that. And they want to use about 2/3 of those for technical people or people in the field of medicine. Technology and medicine is what, those are the immigrants that we want. So, to me, it's an unsolvable issue till we get our political situation more stabilized. And what do I say stabilized? We've always had opposition from back to the time of the founding fathers. Democrats and Republicans are never going to agree. But at some point, you have to agree to disagree and sit down and try to figure out a comprehensive policy to deal with these social issues. And again, it gets back to compassion, love, opening your heart up, and just being a good person, looking at yourself and looking at you guys who live in California. When I first moved to California in 2000, I was literally overwhelmed by the number of Hispanic people that I encountered. I mean, it was just like coming from Oklahoma and the southwest part of the country. You just didn't see a lot. When I moved in 2000, I was living in a part of Tulsa, Oklahoma that was probably had 80% of the Hispanics. The east side of Tulsa was very, very Hispanic. Now I come back to Oklahoma 20 years later after I retired in 2020 in Oklahoma City, and Tulsa public schools are predominantly Hispanic. And it's like that all over the South now. And it makes white people mad. Let's just be honest about it. Look at our school system. Our school systems have been affected by immigration probably more so than anything. All of the major metropolitan areas in the United States are becoming quickly Hispanic.
Mhm.
What does that say about us as a country? The suburban areas. Just think about Long Beach and Long Beach Poly, what a powerhouse they used to be from an athletic standpoint and an academic standpoint. That power has been siphoned off from them now, and the white kids have flown to the suburbs and to the surrounding communities and to the Catholic schools. And the immigrants and the black folks are left in the inner cities. And then the white schools are poaching our great black athletes to the suburbs, i.e. St. John Bosco, Mater Dei, Concord de La Salle in the Bay Area, powerhouses. This is all part of the immigration issue. White folks are running away from brown and black folks to go to the suburbs and leaving the cities to lower income people of color, which in turn lowers the tax base in the cities. And if you notice these communities right there surrounding LA, one of the most liberal bastions in the world is Orange County. Right next to Long Beach. Where's Orange County? Conservative and MAGA as hell. Why? Why would they be conservative? They're the heart of California, so to speak, the financial heart in many respects. It gets back again to race and brown and black. So until we resolve our racial issues, we don't resolve immigration issues. Do we ever resolve our racial issues? Absolutely not. There will never be a time where America is not color conscious. Never. It's just not going to happen, not even our great-grandchildren's lifetimes. But there will become a time through the political process, through demography, which is and I mean by that, the MAGA people are dying. Most MAGA people are over 50, they're dying. And the kids are not embracing the racism, which is inherent in immigration. The kids are not embracing the racism, which is inherent in the LGBTQ movement. The kids are not embracing and walking away from religion religion in mass because the Republican Party and the MAGA people have been taken over by the evangelical Christians. 80% of the evangelicals in this country are voting for Donald Trump. That's just hypocrisy at its greatest, if you're a religious person. So I'm not certain we can solve immigration. I'm not certain that the Democrats and the people like us are doing enough to solve it. I don't think we can until we deal with our racial issues and deal with the fact that the economic pie, we all should have a bigger slice of it. You know, we have too few people with control of our resources. I mean, all the folks who control the main resources, news, information, and technology, are billionaires. Congress has 50 senators and 435 House members. So that's approximately 500 people. Of those 500, 400 of them are millionaires. We're being ruled by people who it's not in their best interest to be compassionate. And when I say not in their best interest, not in their best financial interest to be compassionate. I myself, I don't have an issue. I don't have a resolution for immigration because I think it's one of our unsolvable social problems until we get beyond the race issue and beyond not even race, the economic disparity that goes on in this country. You know, how is a rich billionaire able to convince people, white folks who are basically poor or basically lower class from a financial standpoint to vote against their own interests? Why is abortion such a big issue in this country? That's not politics. That's just trying to force a way of life on people who don't agree with you. That doesn't have anything to do with politics. Our founding fathers were mostly theists, and they opposed religion having anything to do with our way of government. And you got to remember, a significant portion of our founding fathers were slave owners or didn't disapprove of slavery purely from an economic standpoint. But they were smart enough to know that you needed to separate religion and the affairs of the state, because one of the significant reasons that they came over in the first place was to escape political and religious persecution in England. So I don't see a solution for immigration right away. And even the folks who are against it know that economically it's best for us. I don't know. I need some feedback from you guys. I have searched my heart and my soul. I have read, and I don't see anything that can solve this problem with the current political state that we have. You know, I thought that Barack would make a difference with this issue, but you know, Barack didn't have the support of Congress. He had it when he went in. 2 years later, he got swamped in the midterms. The negativity that was focused on him was certainly mostly racial, because he was one of the most technically competent presidents we've ever had, one of the smartest, along with Jimmy Carter, that we've ever had, and one of the most competent. He was a master politician. Only politician I've seen better in my lifetime is Bill Clinton. And these people couldn't do anything with immigration because they were so tied up with the other problems that we have in this country. Barack's lasting legacy will be Obamacare. Barack tried to do some things with immigration, but the Republican Congress wasn't having it. No kind of way. In other words, you're not bringing in more people that look like you, or you're not bringing in more brown people into this country. We're going to stop that. And another key issue why MAGA opposes immigration so toughly is that they think that these people are going to vote Democratic. Gets back to politics again.
Mm.
And the key thing here is a lot of these Hispanics are not voting Democratic simply because of they're predominantly 90% Catholic and 90% anti-abortion. So here's a group of subset of people because of religious issues, as far as abortion is concerned, who, in other words, a significant portion of them are voting against their own interest. There's a lot of Hispanic Republicans in this country who vote against their own issues because of one central issue that doesn't have a thing in the world to do with politics: abortion. Nothing to do with it. But it dominates the national scene, and it's a talking point. And for the Republicans, they have embraced it because it got them 80% of the evangelical Christians in this country. The entire Southern Baptist Convention, 90% of it is pro-Trump. They got blacks for Trump all over the South. It's just again, race, politics, and above all, money. We want them here because they do the jobs that we don't want to do. They bring in youth, they bring in energy, they bring in cultures, and we certainly embrace the great parts of their culture. No other culture in the world has been stripped like the black culture in this country. They take all the good parts and leave out the bad parts. It's fun to be like a black man, but it ain't fun to be a black man unless you're a black man like us. But for them, they want to adopt our swagger, some of our customs, some of our lingo, the good parts about us, so what they think is good or what they think is cool. So I don't know. I don't really have an answer for immigration at this point. I don't think this country is ready to sit down and deal with it, and I don't see it happening in the next president. Could if Biden gets a second term, he may be able to do something. I think he will get a second term just because the opposition is so terrible. But he's going to be stymied. That's not going to be his main focus. Who did he send? Who did he appoint in his administration to tackle immigration? Kamala Harris. It's almost like a setup for her because there's no tackling it. What can she do as vice president of this country? Add her platform and her position, and she's going to the states talking about this that don't even want her to cross the state line, like Texas. They have no use for her. Florida, none. The parts of the country where this, and it's not, and we don't, she's going to Texas, she's going to Florida, trying to work with stuff, and the governors can't stand her. Number one, because she's a black woman. Number two, because she's a Democrat. We don't have that problem on the West Coast so much because Gavin Newsom is a force, and a force for good and a force for change, I might add, even though I don't agree with all of his stuff. But I don't know. I'm just to the point on every discussion I've had on the Sin Show. I came in with a certain amount of a grasp of how I wanted to deal with a particular issue we were talking about, such as COVID, such as empowering black men economically. I had definitive thoughts about how to solve the problem. I have no thoughts about how to solve immigration with our current political situation. To me, where do you put these people? And I call them these people, and I'm saying that in a positive way. They must be treated with compassion and care, and that costs money. And who's to bear that money? Well, we as taxpayers. But just like trying to solve the problem of homelessness, which is a big problem in California, I think at some point we just got to come together with some compassion and some love and come up with some solutions. Build military-style barracks. You're talking about the homeless and the immigration situation, and now a lot of our homeless people are illegal immigrants, so to speak. Is there such a thing as a legal immigrant? Are we legal immigrants because we were born here, even though we didn't? This is not our country of origin. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. But something must be done. I don't think we should allow people to sleep on the streets, whether they Americans, immigrants, or whatever. Downtown LA is a mess. That's a mess. We should not allow people to sleep on our streets. The woke crowd says, well, they have a right and they're entitled. I say bullshit. They're not. No one is entitled to sleep on our streets, or to defecate and urinate on our streets and use drugs openly on our streets. No one should be able to do that. But it's happening on a daily basis.
8:36 p.m.
So I look for help from the panel and their thoughts on this, because I've thought about this, and I'm first I mentioned it to Brother Oscani maybe 6 weeks ago. Just so sick of the situation that's going on, so sick of the BS that's coming from both sides, Democrats as well as the Republicans. You got to remember they're all politicians. What is a politician's main goal? It's not to help people, it's to get reelected. Let's be real about that. So these people have a selfish interest, who are our governors, who are the folks who set the tone and the tenor of what the American society is going to be like. And we're selecting people who just get in and think about themselves. They want to be reelected. So I'm out of ideas on that. I need help. I need to hear from you guys what your thoughts on it, and maybe we could come to some sort of consensus of compassion, care, love, and order. We must have order. There's also an issue with immigrants that a certain percentage of them are coming into the country are obviously criminals. How do we weed them out in a democratic system? I think we'll all agree that there's good immigrants and then there's bad immigrants, and then like the MAGA crowd, all immigrants are bad. They're trying to take my job. Nobody's trying to be a leaf blower. Nobody's trying to pick fruit. No real Americans are. I know we black people, we ain't picking crap at this point. White folks neither. So what's the beef? Again, is it race? Brother Rahh.
I'm gonna go around the panel and see what they think about
Yeah.
what you've said, and or if they have any ideas from that standpoint. We want to start with Toya Brown and see how she feels about immigration.
Well, I agree with Ronnie about we have a problem in a sense. The people who are coming over are hungry and they want a better life, and they're doing any and everything they can to get over. And we, especially Black people, we're kind of lackadaisical about it. We talk about it. Oh, they're taking our job. No, I don't think they're taking our job. They're taking any job that they can get in order for them to survive. And they take the jobs that we don't want. So their people are coming in speaking the language. So somebody's got to talk to these people. So they put their own in there who know the language. We're not learning the language.
That's good.
We don't want to pick up the trash. We don't want to do anything that's menial. But yet, they come in, they get on welfare, but you see a lot of them just hustling. You see the oranges and the flowers on the streets from morning till night. They want to make it. They want their children to have what we are just privileged to have. Just we don't really have to work for it. They have to hustle and work for it. So from that standpoint, I admire them for they see a problem and they solve it. They live together, several families in one place until one can make it. Then they help the. I admire that. And if all we're going to do is sit down and complain and sit down and look and sit down, but that sit down part, then what do we really have to say? They want a better life, and they're trying to get there. So I don't blame them. If I were in their place and I wanted a better life than what my country was offering me, I swim those oceans and get on those boats with the crocodiles and do my best to try to get over to a place that is supposedly the better life. So from that standpoint, I don't have a problem with that in particular about they don't come over here and sit on us for the most part. They figure out a way to get the job done for their children. And they are slowly. I remember when they first were here, they had the little hoopty, the hoopty, little cars. Now they drive BMWs. And guess what? They're quiet about it. They're not out there. They really can't because they're illegal, but slowly and quietly, they're just rising to the top like cream. It's quiet. So I don't really have a problem with that, especially when we're not doing anything proactively to stop it. So
okay.
we're not like our dogs at the gate barking at them if they come to the gate. We let them in and then start barking. What's that?
What's that about? Yeah.
Okay, brother Hembrick, are you on, Joe? Do you have any? Go ahead. We can't hear you.
I don't really have much to say on immigration. As far as we're concerned, I think we need to be about other things.
Okay.
Doesn't refer to us and our, all that. I'm of the persuasion I don't suffer from the illusion of inclusion. There's plenty we need to be about, and that's not one of the particular subjects I would choose. But anyway, appreciating what he said. We couldn't learn a lesson from them, like the sister said, like joining together, getting things accomplished, even on a higher level than just survival. But, I'm not to the politics and the immigration thing. But go ahead on to the next person.
All right, Brother Pruitt, you there?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah. What is your position on immigration?
My position on
what he has said, anything that Brother Robert said.
oh yeah, I think that Brother Roberts did hit on a strong point that the immigration issue is a very serious matter in this country, but who's gonna sit down and take the time to really deal with it and put a solution forward that's gonna be good for the residents and the citizens in this country, and it will also be good for the immigrants too. Because I'm like Brother Joe, basically me first and foremost, as you know, Professor Rahh, I'm a reparations man. So my issue basically is for Black people to come together and do something collectively for ourselves. So I believe that a solution for our people, as far as immigration is concerned, is for Black people to try to focus on sovereignty, to get our own land, to build our own cities. Because like the sister was saying, the immigrants are coming here, they're hungry. So they want to eat. So they're taking any job. A lot of Black people have said that they have lost their jobs due to the large influx of immigration. And a lot of Black people say that we're lacking in healthcare because of a large influx of immigration. A lot of Black people say we're getting hurt in the educational field because of the large influx of immigration. And again, we have to agree with what the sister says, though, because Toya is right. Anybody on this earth that wants to seek a better life, they have the right to do that. But as Black people, we have got to at some point be prepared to say, okay, we have empathy and we have sympathy for your group, but we have got to stay focused on our group and take care of ourselves, because less people are concerned about Black people than they are about Mexicans. So we really have our back against the wall, and we really need to start focusing on doing something for ourselves, and maybe that'll take the focus off of Black people being so mad about the immigration issue. But it is a very serious matter, like Brother Ronnie Roberts is saying, and it is something that we may not spend any time on, we may not want to deal with it, but it's having a very negative impact on African Americans and the Black community. So I always like to look at everything in terms of reality. You know, what can we really do about the situation? Is it better for us to try to prevent more of them from coming in, or is it better for us to try to come together and do something for ourselves? So that's the question that I would like to ask to Brother Ronnie and see what his position is on that. Does he think Black people should come together and do something for ourselves, or should Black people come together and try to defend ourselves against immigration? What do you think, Brother Ronnie?
I think those are good points you're making. I think every American issue is a Black issue. I can't turn my back on immigration because it affects me. As a teacher, I started teaching in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I taught at a liberally and all Black school. And there were 13 Hispanics at the school. I got to know them up close and personal because I was a soccer and cross country coach. And we really didn't field teams because we didn't have enough students, but we were in a conference that had those sports. So I got those girls and boys soccer, girls and boys cross country. And all of my team members, with the exception of one, were the Hispanics. And as I got to know them, I just see so many commonalities with us as Black people. I think of the time that Martin Luther King reached out to Cesar Chavez, and Chavez had also been trying to reach him. And they thought, let's just form a Black and brown coalition, which would empower us all and give us more power. Your numbers and your willingness to work versus our already numbers and our obvious willing to work, because we built this damn country for free. I just think that we cannot overlook any peoples in our quest for equality, justice, and I certainly 1,000% support reparations, and think that on some basis, our great grandchildren will receive something in that nature, simply because of the fact we're going to take over this country politically, Black and brown people. We can't do it alone because our numbers don't support that. We have to take care of ourselves first. We have to get our young people to go vote. We won't be anything as a people until we start voting like the MAGA people. I sincerely believe that. You can talk to me about Black power all you want to, but Black power starts at the goddamn polls. You got to vote. We have nothing without that. I mean, zero without that. If we're not giving the message to our young people to go to the polls and vote, to become politically active, to become politically aware, to study what's going on in this country, we won't be anything. We've already proven that we're not together. We don't have a voice. We don't have a so-called national leader that's not a politician or a preacher. We've already proven that we're not together because as a people, as a Black man, as a Black person in this United States, we're the most resilient, the most strong, the most foresightful people on the planet, but we can't come together because we don't take advantage of the political system. Now, the political system is built to our disadvantage, but we can take advantage of it by getting out, empowering our young people, telling our young people to go vote. Vote your interest, vote your pocket, which is what most people do. And until that happens, man, we won't do nothing as a people until we come together. And we're not, Brother Pruitt, we're not even close.
Okay.
We have folks like us who already have a piece of the pie, talking about coming together, talking about reparations, but our young people are walking around there with their pants on their ass.
All
Hang
right.
on.
All right, Ronnie. I'm gonna get
Well,
Rashi
right,
P, your position.
Hey, see,
I, mhm.
see, we are. I think uh, I'm gonna make some observations, brother Ronnie. You you look at the, and this is just observation, and I may be interpreting you wrong, but I think you look at the um, the
Big picture.
possibilities of the United States and the ideals, but that's just, in my opinion, that's just there. It's nothing that intended to happen. I don't think the intentions, it's there, the ideals of the American, whatever you want to call it, they're set there, and the democracy and this and that. But there's a serious issue that every one of us know about, and it's the color construct strategy called the system of racism, white supremacy, which is a power structure and a demon structure in all of the bad that you can name that runs this earth. I'm talking about the earth. So
Not just
the root of the immigration problem. The root of the immigration problem is that you have colonization and exploitation. You have these men that went all over the earth and continue to go all over the earth and exploit, take, control, pit people against each other, and just continue to wreak havoc on the earth. And so these people have to run to other borders. They see the United States and the illusion of the United States, and they said, let's come here. We have a chance to eat and do whatever we need to do. They were chased away from their lands by the same people who runs this country. So the root of the issue, and this is just my opinion, is the system. And it's the people in power that run the system, and they keep us, the people that learn it, even the learned people, at odds each other about what's going on. And so what I do is I seek information. I'm getting it from you guys right now. And I think if many people start to listen to the concept of a code by Neely Fuller Jr., which basically saying if you become a constructive person and you stop doing these detrimental things that we do, that would start dismantling this color code construct. That's just a strategy that keeps all of us divided. And we just have to really change our lives. Now we're getting to the point where we're going to be checking out because of our age. But what are we going to leave behind for these kids and these people coming behind us to dismantle this system? Because that's the issue. The immigrants over here because they were chased from their lands by the people who run this land. So, it's the root of the issue is white supremacy, racism, the color construct that have most people confused. And I'm gonna leave it right there.
And
Wow.
one of the things, if you to show you the influence that's so subtle, remember when everything was in English? Now what is everything in? English and Spanish. Did they get out there and protest and say, "Oh, we can't understand English. You have to put everything in Spanish too"? No, it was the influence of, it was the power of their influence that came in and had every business put not only English, but put a Spanish language up there also. So because the immigrants come together with one goal in mind, to have a better life, they work together silently. And we don't work together at all. We complain. If we came and had to go like like Brother Pruitt said, he's thinking about reparations. If we came together on reparations as a people,
Yes.
then and have power behind that, I think we
Yes.
have something, and we wouldn't have to worry about what the Mexicans are doing or the Central Americans. We would, if we came together on one issue that was important to us, like reparations. I take that as one and as an example, and just work on that. It would change the whole power structure.
Yes.
Appreciate what's been said, if I understand it correctly. First of all, I want to say thank you, Brother Ronnie Roberts, for your excellent presentation. Just got a few comments and a few questions. You know, white power didn't build white people. White people build white power. And I want you to think about that. It's easy to blame the immigrant, but you don't blame the industries and the contractors and the hotels and the hospitals and that hire them. That makes it a concept that they could come here. Child care centers, hire them because they can get cheap labor. And you see it. You go by construction sites, even cities hire companies, contract with companies, and they don't have no policy. You can't use not undocumented humans working. You have to hire from the community or from the country. They don't do that. It's about cash. It's about exploitation. It's about cheapness. Second, you know, from a political standpoint, Obama was in office, and even Clinton. At one time, they had the Senate and the Congress at one time. And this goes back to Rahh and brother and other brothers that have spoken on racism. Why didn't they develop an immigration policy when they controlled both houses in the Senate? I ain't talking about by one vote. Because Democrats are Dixiecrats. Malcolm said that. When it comes to voting, black people are the most voting people out. Young, old, and yeah. You wouldn't have Atlanta as two senators. They wouldn't have the Senate. The people that brought us here, it was forever free labor. It wasn't for like we were indentured servants. They brought us here. At first we was indentured service, then they passed laws saying let's make it chattel slavery. When America got this revolution from their country in their Declaration of Independence, they included us until it got to the point where they thought about the South and the agricultural economic needs at that time. So they took that clause out of the Declaration of Independence. The Statue of Liberty was built to represent a sense of black people and the abuse of black people. France built it, but the Frenchmen, you know, just look up at the history of the Statue of Liberty. They'll tell you that, you know, there's chains at the bottom of their feet. Every person here came, ancestors came here for different reasons. White people didn't fight their way into America. The Native Americans invited them in, let them in, took care of them. That's where Thanksgiving comes from. The white folks didn't fight their way into Africa. They came in as guests. The white Jews in Israel didn't come into Palestine fighting. The Palestinians brought them in. They had a sense of humanity. It's like you trying to help your kids or help somebody that's down and out, a family you know, and you let them in your house and then they take your house over through intimidation. They kill you and bury you in the backyard. I want you to think deeply about what you're saying when you, as Malcolm said, if you were American, you wouldn't catch him here. Even today, there's blockades in all kinds of different manners, from gerrymandering to redistricting to block the black vote. So it make you think you ain't voting. But you have to go stand out and wait 4 hours or 5 hours, and they're passing laws about people can't even give you water in the hot sun. And would you go and say, hey, I'll do it another time? It's easy to blame the victim. But why are these people trying to come here? We didn't try to come here. They brought us here. You understand? But why are them people, as Rashaki brought out, hey, they underdeveloped their countries to get cheap resources. You just read about where the Russian military militia is over in Africa, stealing resources to support Russia. I mean, you have to have a global perspective of what's going on. There are all type of ways people can come to this country. The Haitians, America just walked in. I mean, they won't even let Haitians come here, but they let their industries go there and their nonprofits go there and rob the people of the resources under the guise that they come to help. And whenever they vote a leader in to tell them they have to leave, they get killed or assassinated. The same thing with Ghana and Patrice Lumumba, Idi Amin. They got to the point we demonize each other, demonizing young people who are emulating white people. All aspects of Eurocentric organizations, from churches to political parties to explorers, they're nothing but gangs. They take other people's perspectives of humanity, try to adopt them as theirs, but they have another mentality up under that. Like you said, the first this country was and you can say Indian, but that means mixed too. It's like Canadian mean mixed, Mexican mean mixed. You understand? They mixed. They were here way before the European came. You know, the Aztecs, the Maya, all of them were mixed people. African people were exploring the earth way before the European came, but they came as with humanity. The European came with a sense of greed and domination, degradation, you know, and mutilation and greed, and a sense of evilness by any means necessary. And their people will follow anybody who speaks to their nationalism and their right to claim America is theirs, but won't even want to outlaw the teaching of who were the first people here and how did they become the dominant people here. They call that critical race theory. Even in Arkansas, with Huckleberry or whatever her name is, she up there want to take African American courses out of the curriculum. And so Latinos can always say, I'm white. I'm white. I'm out American you. Asians are their favorite immigrants. As a matter of fact, they say they have to pass yellow pearl laws to keep them out of the UC schools. Some of the Asians. You got poor Asians. You know, the Hmong people among the Vietnamese. We don't know the difference between the El Salvadorian and the Nicaraguan and the Mexican American.
We have no idea.
They do. You understand? And they come here to learn English, and we're saying we need to learn Spanish, but we also need to learn Swahili.
Yes.
But the point is that, you know, The struggle is a long, protracted struggle, people. And there are many organizations working their butt off for unity and Operation Unity, unity with diversity, unity without uniformity. What do you mean? That's the concept put forth in the 60s after the Black Power movement with Dr. Karenga, that you don't have to say the same thing, believe the same thing to work together. For fundamental principles, you don't have to dress alike. Unity with diversity. We accept different philosophy. You want to be religious, fine. You want to be agnostic, fine. You want to be Black Power, fine. You want to be civil rights, fine. But let's come together. They got the principles, and we used to use them. We had a Black Congress at one time. We had a National Economic Fund, and we had a Black Freedom Party, Freedom Man's Fund. But the United States sent in counter agents and COINTELPRO to break all that up. The same thing with reparations. They create so much confusion about reparations that many of our people don't even know what it is. And as far as going to school, more of us go to school and graduate than most other ethnic groups. You understand? Yeah, Latinos are taking over, not taking over, but are the majority in schools we used to attend and things of this nature. But if you go down south, in particularly Atlanta and people like some parts of Mississippi and Louisiana, we still the dominant force. The majority of black people live in the South. We out here in California, which is called the West Coast, which is the worst coast. We only, 7-8% of the state of California? 11% of the city of Los Angeles? And why is the city named Los Angeles, San Diego, Palos Verdes? Because there was a mixture of people that came. Black people came with Mexicans at that time, or Native Americans, and discovered these cities. Seattle, named after Indians. You have to remember what we went through. Hundreds of years of domination, degradation, and just all kind of brutal things, rape, murder. You know how hard it'd be to make you a slave today? Yeah, well, think about it. And look at this man telling us that slavery brought us skills. Did you hear Santa say that? Yeah. Now, answer me a question. Who were the first architects of the world? The woman with the thatch hut on the continent of Africa when the European was in the cave. And if we were so skillless, how did we build the pyramid? You understand? I mean, it's ridiculous when you think about the absurdity that these Europeans have, that we ought to be grateful and pay them to be here. And some Africans feel that way. But the struggle is a long struggle. I don't see immigration as a problem. I'm like Rashaki. I see white supremacy as a problem. They choose to act like they don't want immigrants, but they give them babies like Schwarzenegger, and like Pelosi had one working for her, and Feinstein, cleaning their houses and stuff. And then they turn right back around, oh, we got an immigration problem. Make you think they're against immigration. Immigration is taking jobs from you. How could they take jobs from factories we don't own? You help me understand that. You understand? So I'm just saying that the struggle is a continuing one. But I'll never take my eyes off the real problem, global problem. And they come in with white. How could white folks follow Donald Trump? How could they follow white folks who made up a Jesus that looked like them? The most powerful thing you can have is the power to define reality, make other people accept your reality as theirs. These are the people that believed in ghosts, believe it. And then, they, like I told them on the religious trail, they tell you don't believe in ghosts, but they believe in the Holy Ghost. It don't make no sense when you think about it. So the spirit is one, and I'm glad you brought this topic up, brother. Yeah, but we can solve immigration easy. You know, all you gotta do is spend some of them resources you done stole from them people, and you take factories down to their country, and you only hire the women, and you pay them cheap labor, and you kill the leaders that don't let you get away with not paying taxes or not paying unemployment, not paying all the other things that they do here. And the only money that they pay is for the dictator that you control. Oh, that don't even make sense. We gotta look at a thing. Many of us are miseducated, and but I see the unity and the beauty of our young people when I look at the black colleges, when I look at who's graduating, who's the top scientists and mathematicians and winning Spellbound. These are people it was against the law to get an education. And when we moved into Caucasians' neighborhoods, they moved out. Now when Mexicans move into our neighborhoods, we move out. I mean, where'd you learn that from? Rodney King said, "Can we all get along?" You know, I mean, I have no I'm in the heart of Compton. Latinos all around me. And I go out, I speak, and ain't no problem. Now, their personal feelings, they can have them. Because they're different. They're different among themselves. And some of them get paid to hate us or to discriminate against us. And we looked out for our families, as Toya was saying. I remember in the 50s when black people moved from the South, they moved in with relatives up here until they can get a job and get themselves together. Throughout Willowbrook, that's all you saw. There's people trying to get their people out the South. And in Chicago, the big migration in '42. Chicago, all these urban cities we migrated to for work and get out of that racist Southern oppression. And we question why some black or some African Americans still stay there. How can you live down there? But hey, that's what they want to do. So anyway, first of all, Ronnie, we want to thank you for being our guest. If you want to respond, anybody want to respond to anything anybody said, please go ahead.
I would. I think Ronnie made a good point about, these young people need to get out and vote, and, because their vote would count. But I think that we, as the last of that old the Jim Crow era, because we had to fight for our education. We were trying to integrate the schools and all of that. But our children were removed from that, and we didn't present that to them as far as, we were in a struggle. We were trying to get them educated, and we gave them everything they needed or wanted, and so that's where their mindset is: to get what we can get, go to these concerts and enjoy life, and in this technology. We didn't teach them or make them know what we had gone through and what their grandparents and great-grandparents. We just tried to give them the best life they could, and we've spoiled them. They could care less about what the struggles are, because they haven't had any struggles.
Yeah.
These other immigrants have,
But look, sister, I want to give you this. This is Black August, as you see behind Rashaki. And the same embodiment of black hatred and black misuse, Donald Trump, who was sued for, and his daddy for discriminating against black people. He's facing a black prosecutor in New York, a male. He's facing a black judge in D.C. He's facing a black woman in New York, and he's facing a black woman in Atlanta whose father, if I'm not mistaken, helped start the Black Panther Party where they were living. And now they have all ascended out of Howard University. You got a black vice president. Now, you don't think black people helped them get where they were? Young people
Oh
are
yeah.
voting. Some of them aren't. A lot of white kids ain't. They're out there smoking and taking fentanyl and everything else. I know we have a tendency to blame the youth, but like you just said, we try to educate them and train them. I know. I mean, look, I see a lot of youth that what happened in Ferguson. That was a youth movement, and that was what started the um, Black Lives Matter movement. Ferguson, and out of Ferguson, you got a congresswoman. She's up there now. I can't remember her name, but at the same time, struggle continues. We wouldn't be where we are today if it wasn't for struggle to get an education, struggle to work and take care of our families. And yes, some of us didn't teach our kids consciousness or to being polite. Like some of us don't teach our kids to be spiritual. But at the same time, when they get older, they'll learn. You understand? And they'll reflect. My mama told me this. My daddy told me this. As they mature, many of the people that are educated, they don't give that sacred teachings. We're the first people that buried people. Pyramids are mausoleums. We're the first people that cremated bodies. You understand? Believing ashes to ashes, dust to dust. We're the first people that we've done a lot of first. We didn't do everything, but we are some of the first. We set the pace for humanity. And our young people are the products of their families. But a lot of them don't even live at home. And there's no punishment for those that are taking care of kids and they're flunking out of school, not going to school, but they still getting that check for they're supposed to be taking care of them. There's no standards for the foster parents and the placement parents. And Joe will tell you, and Rashid will tell you, the majority of the people at the schools that they taught were living with somebody else. And then they put drugs on us and made it so cheap you can get it. That's why we used to be alcoholics, because it was what? You made moonshine, or you can go get a fifth for a couple of dollars. You understand? Now, all of a sudden, you can get some pills for a couple of dollars. You can get cocaine for a couple of dollars. That ain't no accident. At one time, cocaine was for the rich and the powerful. They even found some in the White House. You understand? So, don't tell me. Boy, I've been in this struggle since 1965. We had the Black Congress, the Black National Economic Fund, we had Black Culture Movement, we had the Black Arts Movement, but conditions create consciousness. And some of these young people are very conscious. They're writing books, some of their raps, conscious raps, have a message in it. I'm not too easy to blame the children. I blame the parents who didn't, or the caretakers who didn't.
Professor Rahh, that's what I'm saying. We haven't focused them into the point of how important those things are, or even
some of us.
Yes, that's right. Some of them, but not enough where we make the impact. Like when Asians come over here, their parents tell them, get a medical job because you'll have a job for life. They focus them in whatever they want them to do. I'm just saying we don't have a general focus for our children. We have people who, people who do, we have parents who do, but not as a
Yeah,
race or a body. That's all I'm saying.
yeah, but Chinese or Japanese go to school 6 days a week, and it's from 8 o'clock in the morning till 6 o'clock at night. And then that's why they are fluent in some of the sciences and the math. Our unions say, hey, no, we got the summer off. You understand?
Yes,
And pass them based on grade and age. You understand? And
I
you got
know.
Christmas spring off.
Yes,
You got
that's my
more off
point.
days than you have damn school days. Then you
Yeah,
have the faculty development day. I mean, come on. I
I
mean,
know. That's
you
my
know,
whole point.
no,
You
well,
know,
because it's about
yeah,
economics. It's about
that's
economics. All they want
yes.
is that ADA, and y'all know that. That's why
Absolutely.
white schools, LA Unified white schools, said, no, y'all don't even have to come to during the hurricane yesterday. But the majority of black schools and minority schools, we need them dollars. Y'all get y'all butt here if you have to swim. You understand? So come on. Man, uh, I seen it all. We
I,
ain't,
I believe you, but
yeah. Okay. Well, look here. We're going to, Ronnie, if you want to come back and finish up, if y'all have any questions, anything, just let me know. But it's been good, brother. You brought up a good topic, and we need to discuss it more and get into some more science of it, because the whole earth is immigrated. I want you to understand that.
Real
And you
talk.
can, and you can build all the fences you want. You can't stop dope. Tons of dope. How you gonna stop people from getting here? You
No
understand?
way.
They used to bring them in on the airplanes, and the captains and the gatekeepers were getting a piece of the money and letting them in. Come on, brother. You ain't gonna stop that. And the only way you stop it is fix up their country by make them want to stay. You understand? But anyway, Rashi Key, what's going on Wednesday? I mean next Monday,
Tomorrow.
huh?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah. We got Brother Thomas coming on, and he has a topic that's gonna be tough. Tough for some people to swallow. Got some thick skin for this topic. So it's gonna be women are cobra die or not cobra die, and men are not clownfish. So I'm gonna let him explain all that. I don't even want to mention it.
Well, I hear you. And Toya, we want to invite you to come back anytime. We're here on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 6 o'clock. And if you have a topic you want to lead in discussion, as a longtime educator with a multitude of experiences with administrators, unions, and the whole education field, and your ideas of how to improve it, you're welcome. Just let
yes,
Dr. P know or let Ronnie know, and I'll make a space for you on my show. And
I
the same
appreciate
thing
that.
Dr. P would do. And Brother Ronnie, you know you're a household name here, brother. You like family. Anytime you got a topic, and it's always controversial. I would just say they should put that Ronnie Controversial Roberts. You understand? Because you be hard. You be
I
hard.
own it. I own that, man.
Yeah.
I'm passionate
You
about
know
my
I
people.
called Sydney a couple times. Boy, something else. But anyway,
Yeah.
okay, Rashaki.
Rob, what we got next Tuesday?
We got Brother Pruitt who was on earlier talking about reparations.
Oh,
Yeah, reparations next Tuesday.
That's a good topic.
Yeah.
Right. So if everybody don't recognize, we didn't switch Professor Rod to Tuesday. No more Mondays for this moment. So Professor Rod's on Tuesdays.
And that's because I'm on dialysis on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And last Monday I got sick on the air. So, some people can take dialysis, they skip around, work, and do all kinds of stuff. It devastates me. You understand? So but I'm gonna keep on going, just like Harriet Tubman said. If you scared, keep going. If you're sick, keep going. No matter what, keep going. And that's my position on the loving and caring for our people. All right.
So each one take
Appreciate you, Brother Rahh.
All right, I appreciate you too, brother. And Toya, it's got nice to meet you. I
Oh, I'm
taught
so
for
glad to meet
34
you.
years, both public and um, I've taught uh, public schools, juvenile hall, Linwood, Compton, um, and Linwood again, and got tenure in all of them. And then community college and university. So this is what I love teaching.